do you trust the federal government to be in charge of feeding you and providing you water?
I have so much trust and faith in Bernie Sanders that I do think that I would trust the federal government to provide that for me.
What's going on, guys? Drew Hernandez here with Lives Matter. I'm here at the 2020 Bernie Sanders rally in Nevada. We're going to ask people what they think about the Green New Deal and why they support Bernie. But before we begin, we've been extremely demonetized. Our content does get deboosted. If you do want to make a donation one time or monthly, the links are in the description. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's see what happens. What is the number one reason you support Bernie Sanders?
Well, I supported Bernie when I was 15 years old in 2016. I'm currently 18 now, and I really do feel that he's the only politician who is for the people and for young people like me, loves me, and by that I mean he's willing to fight for my future. And I really do think that other politicians are corrupt. They're not for our interest, the people's interest, and like I said though, Bernie I think has a track record that proves otherwise.
Gotcha. So policy-wise, right? What's the number one policy reason that you support Bernie Sanders?
So Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal, I think, is the most radical and progressive plan to combat climate change. And I think, all these other issues matter, like immigrant rights, trying to combat racial injustice, sexism, etc. But if we don't have a world where we can fight for those rights because of climate change, then what are we doing, right? So I think that Bernie Sanders having a clear approach to how he would combat that climate change is why I think that's the most prominent issue right now.
Gotcha. Conservatives, Republicans, they see the Green New Deal as being extremely controversial because the last few pages literally say that the federal government would be in charge of providing food, water, and clean air, and even some financial assistance to people that don't even work. Do you believe that? And that's what the Green New Deal does say, and Bernie Sanders is a huge proponent of it, right? So do you trust the federal government to be in charge of feeding you and providing you water?
Okay, honestly, there is a lot of distrust with this government, and part of me would say no, but then another part of me says that I have faith, that Bernie Sanders would ensure that there wouldn't be corruption involved in that, and if there were, he would do anything to fight against it. So I really do think that even though I may have a bit of distrust for that, I have so much trust and faith in Bernie Sanders that I do think that I would trust the federal government to provide that for me.
I'm here to support Bernie because I think that he's got what it takes to be the next president and take the nation in the direction it needs to go.
Gotcha. So what's the number one reason, policy-wise, you support Bernie Sanders?
I feel like he'll do a lot, especially with the making sure that there's no college tuition. And for me, who's I'm paying for college out of pocket, so having him who wants to get rid of that so that everyone can get an education, that's really important to me, especially since I want to be a teacher later on, and I want to support the students who want to go to college but can't afford it.
Gotcha. So Bernie Sanders has made it very clear he wants to implement the Green New Deal. A lot of Republicans, independents, people in the middle, on the right, they see it controversial because the Green New Deal literally states that the federal government will be responsible for providing food and water and clean air, and in some cases economic security, which would be free money even to people that don't work. Would you trust the federal government to feed you and give you water?
Not really, but
that's what Bernie's gonna implement.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Would that kind of maybe change your mind?
Maybe. Yeah, it'll affect it for sure.
So Bernie wants to take away the guns, but it looks like Bernie Sanders has armed security here at his rally. Just more hypocrisy.
Yeah, we're just here to make sure that we show that we support Bernie. We're here, we're endorsing him, Make the Road. And I believe in Make the Road. I believe in what Bernie stands for. I mean, all the immigration policies that he's come out with, I agree with completely.
Bernie Sanders is running on the Green New Deal, right? He has promised that he's going to implement it, right? a lot of conservatives, Republicans, people on the right, even independents find it extremely controversial because the last few pages of the Green New Deal, which pretty much proclaim that the federal government would be responsible and in charge of providing food and water and clean air, and in some cases, economic security, which would be free money to people that don't even work. Do you trust the federal government to feed you and give you water?
Yeah, so I really don't have an opinion on that. I like how it sounds when you say it, but I'm not sure if I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Policy-wise, what is the number one policy reason you support Bernie Sanders?
I mean, it's pretty well split, but I mean, universal health care is super important, but also the Green New Deal. I mean, climate change issues are really important to me. But I mean, in terms of everybody, I mean, universal health care, we all stand to benefit from that, so I'd go with that one.
Gotcha. I know the Green New Deal, a lot of conservatives, Republicans, even independents see it super controversial because the last few pages of the Green New Deal literally state that the federal government will be responsible for providing food, water, clean air, but also even economic security, which would be free money for people that don't even work. Do you trust the federal government to provide food and water for you?
I trust the right people in right positions. The current administration, I don't know, I don't trust them at all, but people within the Bernie administration, I trust them and I believe in them to do the right thing. And of course there's going to be difficulties in making these kind of transitions, but I trust people that are good people in the right positions to do the right thing.
What is the number one policy reason that captivates your vote with Bernie Sanders?
Yeah, it is most certainly Medicare for all. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I was talking to a woman from Italy last night, and she was saying, wait a second, if you can't pay, does that mean you die? I mean, just the disgust that people have with from around the world when they look at healthcare in the United States, people are just completely flabbergasted that our for-profit system that is designed to deny coverage to people exists. So I think we should get with the rest of the modern world and have universal healthcare, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it, it's time. And I think that's one of it's representative of a whole bunch of policies that Bernie represents and the movements across the United States are pushing for that has gotten me really excited about this campaign.
Gotcha. I'm asking you this because I want your opinion, okay?
Yeah.
Don't take this personal, all
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So a recent study actually came out that would actually cost $32 trillion in 10 years, a Medicare for all policy,
Sure.
right? The federal government already pays about $10 trillion every 10 years as of right now. That would triple the cost, Medicare for all in the
Sure,
United States.
yeah.
How would we pay for that?
How would we pay for that? Well, what's not in that study is what's the current cost of healthcare?
It's
What's
$1
the current
trillion a
cost?
year.
Sure. For the federal government?
Yeah, which is $10 trillion a decade. Bernie's would be $32 trillion a decade.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is the current cost of healthcare and where does it go? When I pay insurance, how much of that is going to the insurance brokers, the middle people in the system, that is going to just fund the insurance industry and billionaires at the top? I mean, that's really what our insurance is paying for. A privatized system, by switching over, it's going to reduce costs for everyday Americans.
The Green New Deal is extremely controversial. At the end of the Green New Deal, it does say that the federal government will be responsible for providing food, water, clean air, and economic security, which would be free money for people that don't work. Would you trust the federal government to feed you and provide water for you?
Yeah, I generally trust people to take care of each other. That's kind of what we're all doing together as a country. So yes, I do. Yeah, and I really look at the Green New Deal. I'm excited about. I mean, people talk about it as, radical new ideas, and it's like, no, this is the same old idea that has made America great for generations. When you look at the original New Deal and FDR, a lot of what they were pushing for then is what we're pushing for now. So yeah, there we go.
Gotcha. So you're a Bernie supporter.
Yes.
Usually, I'll ask a Trump supporter, when was America great? So as a Bernie supporter, when was America great?
Oh, that's a complicated question.
You just said that, and I'm just curious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I'll say there's when was America great? America's great during the labor movement as people across this nation pushed for 40-hour work week and having time off. America's great during the civil rights era when folks like Bernie and other folks got out and got arrested pushing for equal rights for all. America is great when people across this nation get together and realize we're better together.
The American people will not re-elect a president who lies all of the time, who is running a corrupt administration, who is a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, a homophobe, and a religious bigot.
What's interesting, guys, is, Bernie wants gun control for you, but not for his rally, not for him. Armed guards at a Bernie 2020 rally. Armed. But they want to take away your guns, but not for them. It's interesting how Democrats and Bernie wants extreme gun control on citizens, but this whole march is locked down by armed police officers. Armed. You have an armed vehicle right there, which I'm assuming is equipped with a firearm. And there's Bernie Sanders marching. It sounds like it's gun control for you and me, but not for Bernie.
Oh, you gotta keep moving.
Thank you, everybody. We gotta get in the polling place.
I think they wanted everyone to go and vote.
Oh yeah, everyone that's voting is in there.
Over there, right? Yeah.
Who can't vote? They
Okay.
want them away from the...
Gotcha. So what's interesting is we all just walked from the high school, marched with Bernie, and the majority of these marchers aren't even legal to vote. So all of those that are legal to vote are all going in there to vote for the early primary caucus. But all these people right here, all these people that are walking away are not legally registered to vote. So they're all having to be turned away to walk away. So what's interesting is Bernie has support from illegals, but they can't vote.
I'm out here because I can't vote, but I have a voice, and my voice is powerful. Using my voice, I can invite people. My friend that can vote, actually, I'm encouraging her to vote, and I talked to her about Bernie on what he offers, and now she's interested in voting for Bernie.
A lot of conservatives, Republicans, they see Bernie as controversial because of the Green New Deal, right? And he just preached that right now to everyone in the building. So he does promise to implement that. What the Green New Deal does say at the final pages of it, that the federal government will be in charge of providing food, water, clean air, and economic security, which would be free money to pretty much anyone that doesn't want to work. Would you trust the federal government to provide your food and your water?
If Bernie's backing it up, I surely do look forward to it. Vote for Bernie!
Why do you support Bernie Sanders?
You can answer it first. I support him because I feel like he has a lot to give to our community, and even though I don't know how to say, even though he doesn't have a certain he's not a Republican nor Democrat, he still has a lot to give to our community of Latinos.
Gotcha. So you don't believe Bernie Sanders is a Democrat?
I feel like he's in the middle, but I feel what is it called? He doesn't have a certain he's not nor Republican nor Democrat.
Honestly, we're here from Student Organization of Latinos, and we support people to vote in the first place. That's what we're just supporting. And they invited us to come to the Bernie event, so we came. And yeah, we're very open on stuff like that.
Gotcha, because you guys are representing Make the Road Action, right? I know that they endorsed Bernie Sanders, correct? Is there a piece of policy that you guys believe represents you the most from Bernie Sanders?
Yes, when he was talking about the immigration. Yeah, that was one thing.
My name's Drew.
Nice to meet you, Drew.
Nate, nice to meet you. Awesome. So, are you a Bernie supporter?
Yes, I am a Bernie Sanders supporter.
Gotcha. Why is that? What captivates you the most about Bernie Sanders? Not just his personality, but his policy.
Well, Bernie Sanders, well, he's on the most good reason because he's against racist, sexist, and homophobic because he's against Donald Trump. So I can't wait. So Donald Trump, because he's racist. Because I respect Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders can't wait. So I can't wait. He's going to become a president 2020 this time because I can't wait because. I am a Bernie Sanders supporter. I'm gonna say, vote for Bernie 2020, and also I'm gonna say, feel the burn, punks for Bernie, because we're gonna always say that Bernie Sanders is gonna win 2020 of the United States because he will beat Donald Trump. Because I'm against Donald Trump because Donald Trump, because I don't like him. He is. Because I don't trust him as the president of the United States. Because we all know, because we're going to vote blue. We're going to vote blue, and all of a sudden we have to keep voting blue.
Gotcha. So Bernie Sanders has a pretty extensive policy proposal on his website. Is there anything on his website that captivates you the most about his policy that he wants to implement in the United States as president?
Well, that's a good question. So what I'm saying is that Bernie's like we gotta keep doing this because we can't let it go down. We gotta keep winning going on today. We gotta keep winning because we're gonna start early vote today. Because I'm gonna start early vote. I'm gonna vote Bernie Sanders because I am a Bernie Sanders supporter. Because I am so proud. So I'm so proud because I've been seeing Bernie Sanders all the time. Because I gotta keep voting Bernie because my sister she loves Bernie Sanders and my goddaughter too. I have a goddaughter. It's like 2 goddaughters and 1 godson. So my sister, she's against Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. He's gonna he got to keep going. We got to keep going and going because I saw him on Facebook Live because I'm gonna say he's gonna win because I gotta respect Bernie Sanders because I like Bernie.
So why are you a Bernie Sanders supporter?
I don't know what happened with the Democrats where we decided that we wanted to go away from these old policies that brought in the greatest period of economic prosperity that the U.S. had ever seen. We were great because we cared about our fellow citizens, and we have to go back to that.
So would you admit as a Bernie Sanders supporter that America has been great before?
Yes, I mean, it's an indisputable fact. I'm not arguing about that. I mean,
I just think it's interesting because, like, when I interview Trump supporters, people are aggressive against them, and it's like America was never great. America was never great. But I think it's interesting that as a Bernie supporter, you admit that America has been great in the past. Now, when was that?
I mean, personally, I think it was in the area immediately following like World War II, when you saw like a lot of the programs that we did enabled veterans to basically build the middle class.
Economic boom, private businesses.
Yeah. When we cared about the citizenry and we cared about our people, we ended up great because of that. We didn't end up great because we put as much power as we could in the hands of as few people as possible. We distributed it down to as many people as possible. We enabled people to fulfill their own destiny, if you will. We empowered people to do what they felt like they could do.
The American dream, right?
Yes.
I know Bernie is extremely controversial because of the Green New Deal. I know because of the last few pages of the Green New Deal, where it does state that the federal government will be in charge of distributing food, water, clean air, obviously, but also economic security, which would be free money for pretty much anyone that doesn't even work. Would you trust the federal government to provide food and your water?
Service before self. So if something means like I have to pay more taxes to make sure that those without have the means to go to college, to eat, to have adequate housing so that they can go to school, I'm going to, because that's what it means to care about your fellow citizens, at least to me. So should we have like a state that's in charge of that? I mean, if we're going to have one, yeah, have them do that.
Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan will actually cost the federal government $32 trillion in a decade. The federal government does spend money on Medicare services or medical services for the nation, about $1 trillion a year. So that's about $10 trillion a decade. It would triple under Bernie's policies. What do you? Is that an economic wise thing to do? What's your opinion on that?
Well, the thing is there's a lot of times with like people who I care about where I actually give money out of my paycheck to like help them out. And in many ways, if the government already did do that, I wouldn't have to. It would just go toward taxes. So I guess it's kind of like.
So you'd be willing to give up. You'd be willing to give up, like, let's say, 70% of your paycheck to pay for that.
I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't use a lot of my money. I mean, what good is it really doing good for me?